Right then, in this video we take a look at the trams in Katowice in Poland. The Katowice tram system is one of the largest tram systems in Europe. This tram system doesn't so much feel like a complete self-contained tram system, but more feels like a collection of different small towns. Each small town has its own small tram system, and all these small tram systems interlink to create this large tram system. This means there's no direct routes that go the entire way across this tram system. This means that if you're at the very western end of the tram system and you were trying to get to the very eastern end of the tram system, you'd have to go on 4 different trams to do this, because you'd have to go on the different tram routes of the different towns to travel across this larger tram system, meaning it does take quite a long time to get to where you're going. The top speed of the trams on this system is 30 miles an hour. And now, let's start this video off by taking a ride on an old constal tram, which has been modernised to look like a modernized tram. This is a very weird tram. Let's ride it. Now, along we go to Brighton, where there is the short little route called Tram 38. This tram route used to have an old historic tram on it, but sadly this has been replaced with a modern day single car modernized tram, which was really disappointing. While most of the trams on this system are unidirectional, this single car modernized tram is actually bidirectional and runs down the middle of the road, with the cars having to go to either side of the road to avoid the tram as the tram goes past. And it seems rather odd that you have a bidirectional single tram track in the middle of the road that cars have to then avoid. It's quite weird. As this tram runs down the middle of the road, to get in and out of the tram you have to walk across traffic, and while at intermediate tram stops the cars stop for you, at the end of the line the tram sits there for quite a long time, and cars then go past the tram as people are trying to get in and out of it. It seems quite dodgy. And now, let's take a ride on a modernised do-wag tram. And it's quite weird that the Katowice tram system has quite a lot of old trams which they then modernised to make the trams look newer. Now, as the Katowice area is not so much of a city but more of a collection of small towns, some of the tram routes really feel like they go into the countryside. Let's explore some of these countryside routes. And we now go along to the town of Zabrze, where there is tram line 3. This is the only other tram route on the system that runs bi-directional trams. A lot of this route is single track, and this tram route runs really slowly where the route hasn't been maintained that well. Let's now take a ride on a 3-car modernized beta bi-directional tram. Take a ride into the really rural areas in this tram system, which are on lines 1 and 9. And going down these routes there is another old console tram that's been modernised to look like a modernist tram. Then, heading down into the rural areas on tram 9, this single track tram route runs on one side of the road, but as this route runs unidirectional trams which only have doors on one side, when the tram runs in one direction, the doors open to a platform on the side of the tram tracks. But when the tram runs in the other direction, the tram doors open directly into the road. Now, I've seen trams in other places where the trams have doors that open directly into the road, but usually this is where there's tram tracks in the middle of the road. This is the first time I've ever seen this, when the tram's actually at the side of the road, meaning that traffic running in both directions has to stop so that people can cross the street from the other side of the road, cross over the road itself to get to the tram, which has just opened its doors facing directly into the road. How strange is this?
Katowice. Możliwość przesiadki na linię autobusową.
And now, so far we've explored the western regions of this tram system. We've explored the parts of this tram network which are west of the central city of Katowice. Let's now take a look at the other half of this tram route, which is located to the east of the central city of Katowice. And to go over to the eastern side, we now take a ride on a Pesa twist tram. And let's now go further into the eastern regions of this tram system, and let's ride the slightly modernised old console tram which has DC pulse width modulation. And over into the eastern parts of this tram system, in some areas the tracks are really badly maintained. Look at this jarring angle to the tram tracks. This makes me feel like I'm in Ukraine rather than in Poland. Going along these tram tracks, look at some jarring angles. You're going along there, and then suddenly there. So that angle there, if you're going along suddenly jarring angle. So then, after exploring the eastern regions of this tram system, I now head back over to the western regions because I missed a tram that I wanted to see. I missed the classic old console tram that hasn't been modernised. So let's go and ride it. They also have some old console trams which are bi-directional, but sadly I did not manage to get on one of these. And now let's take a ride on an Alstom tram. An Alstom cannot make a good tram even if they actually tried. The bearings on this tram sound knackered. And now let's take a ride on a single car modernized tram, but this is the unidirectional variant of it.
No i poszłam oddać te swoje szmaty, nie? W sumie zajechałam. No to miałam dwa zamówienia i jedno udało nam nie zapuszczą. Więc mam takie, co mówiła, jest to fajne, to jest z tymi takimi rzeczami, to mam jeszcze element.
And now, let's take a ride on a bus. And the bus is a Volvo parallel hybrid I-shift bus with a truck-style single clutch gearbox. Ty na co?